All right, Chelsea.
Brian.
It's been a while again.
It has. It has.
What what has everybody been missing? This is our second show in like a month.
It's been 1 week. We had 1 week off.
Well, we had a couple weeks ago we took 2 weeks off.
We've taken only ever 1 week off at a time, just for the record.
After we get to like the 10th episode of our 24 run series, and then all of a sudden we're taking these extended breaks and
One
everything.
week off. 1 week off.
We were just catching up right before the show, and just so that you guys know, we literally don't plan anything that's related to the show. We try to save everything for the lives so that everybody can see just how it goes when two people are trying to create a show, a program, a podcast, a live. And it's kind of hard because you, in the course of just being friends or being acquainted online on Instagram or something, you want to share certain things. But then when part of the show that you have is to show that, to discuss that on the air, it's kind of hard. And just, I mean, Chelsea got on time this time, 2 minutes before the show,
5
and
minutes. I was 5 minutes early.
talking about it with her manservant came and brought her a nice hot cappuccino. So she's got people that work for her during the day. But you've been a little sick the last few weeks, and we were just kind of talking. And she literally, I find it kind of funny that as she was talking about being sick and whatever kind of tests or whatever she had to go do, and but she still found time to try to kill whatever virus she had by drinking alcohol. She was like,
I was,
as
I
sick as
mean,
she
I've
was, she's
never,
like,
have
I
you
can.
ever been sick and not like, I don't know, even when I'm sick, sometimes like a Guinness sounds good or like a whiskey hot water, I think that's technically all a hottie toddy is, right? Is just like whiskey and hot water.
I don't know specific. I've had hottie toddy before when I was at a couple Ole Miss football games, but it's just interesting. As sick as you are, and you're like, you're still drinking wine and
No, I couldn't.
some.
I couldn't. I hosted. Okay, so this is how big it was. And hi, Elise. I hosted my best friends got married right next to our house, and they did a very small wedding. And we offered to host their reception. And this was when I was so seriously ill and it was terrible. And she was like, should we cancel? I was like, we can't cancel your wedding. So my mom came and had to help because I was basically in bed.
These are
I
just
made an
basically friends of
appearance.
yours or your neighbors.
No, these are like our best friends. They got married at a restaurant near our house, and then we hosted the reception afterwards. And it was just, I mean, it was fun, but I was not present the way I would have liked to be present. I was at like an hour and a half of the reception, and then I went to sleep, which was so sad.
Can you imagine
She,
being like friends of these people that don't know you, and they're like, "Oh, where's the reception at? Oh, it's over at my friend Chelsea's house." Then you go over there, and like Chelsea is as sick as she's been. You're just like, "Oh, really?
it was
What is
bad. I was like, Mike,
what has
you
she
have
touched around
to.
here?"
I know. I told Mike, I was like, he has to stay up the whole time because someone has to be the host. And my mom helped too. And she helped with my son, of course. And then the other thing was I was coughing so loudly. And I was like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing post COVID to like cough in public. That was the first thing I had done out of the house in 2.5 weeks. And I was still sounding as bad as I was sounding on our lives. It was, I was had cough drops in my purse and I'm drinking tea. So I show up and they're like, get whatever you want to drink. I'm like, do you have a hot tea?
That's great. It just reminds me of how much of a germaphobe that I am, and I'm always aware when I'm sick. I'm doubly aware for everybody else that I'm like, I don't have this or that, whatever it is. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
when other people are sick, it annoys me so much. Like I
No.
feel so put off, especially like if I'm in a public place, we're at a restaurant or something, and somebody's coughing. I'm just like, oh, I can just see the germs and virus load just floating over, and then I try to hold my breath. Like somebody, like when you're walking in public, and then you cross paths with somebody that's coughing or sneezing, and then I try to like hold my breath. I'm like, and I'll try to walk past so that I go past the cloud of virus so that I don't get infected. I'm not I'm not well in the
I
head
mean,
when it comes to that.
I don't disagree. I don't think I would have overthought that pre-COVID, but now post, I definitely think about these things more. And yet, what do you do? Like, I told her, I warned her, I was like, hey, I don't have any of these things. Like, I was like, I don't have strep, I don't have whatever. Just seems to be this terrible virus. And she's like, no, I want you to come still. I was like, okay, I just feel bad for your guests. It
But how
was
do you
awful.
trust people when, I've had so many people will say that to me
I didn't
in
get
the
tested
last
for the
couple of
flu.
years.
I
They'll
told her
say
I exclusively.
people will cough or sneeze when I'm at a hockey game or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll be, oh, don't worry, it's not COVID. I'm like, how do you know?
You don't, they don't. No, I know.
How do you know?
Well, and
And
most people I know who get COVID, they test like every day for 10 days in a row. I'm sure my one test was like not super useful.
but that's people that take it seriously then, right? So then you have what is that? 40% of the population, 50%, and the other 50% will probably just say that they don't know. They don't care.
No. I took
So you
it.
don't know. You can't trust anybody.
I totally agree with you. I did take things seriously. The biggest thing that I was sharing was the time from getting sick. So I was CDC days away from being infectious. Right? It's 2.5 weeks. Ryan's like, I would never have wanted you to come. I would have
Oh, I would
canceled.
never. Yeah, if I found out like it was being hosted by somebody's friend and then like they were sick, I'd be like, ah, there's no way.
Well,
And
if you were the bride or groom, what would you have done?
If I was the groom and it was my wife's friend hosting it, I'd bitch and complain about it. To be honest with you.
You can't not do it. Like they didn't. That's why I felt so bad. Is like they're kind of trapped. It's like you don't have another option.
Yeah.
Oh, but it turned out lovely, and it was all fine. And I think they had a lovely time, which was all I wanted. I just felt so bad I couldn't have fun or
And then
like be there.
you were hosting a super spreader event.
I wasn't. No one got sick. Oh my God, no one got sick. It's
that
20
you know of. There's probably somebody on a respirator
No, there were 20 people at the
downtown
wedding.
Atlanta hospital that is super sick of something.
No, there were 20 people there. No one got sick. Additionally, she confirmed everyone is vaccinated.
Yeah, people will say that, and I don't know. At this point, people who take it seriously, I will believe them that they either tested or they're going to do what's right and try, not go somewhere. And then people that don't, I've seen it. I've seen it with people within our circle that we, sort of socialize with for hockey, sicker than dog shit, and will come to a fucking game, or their kid will come dressed to play, Yeah. It's just I just don't trust people these days. And the funny thing is, talking about this in the last week or so, I've had so many ads on TikTok and Instagram about, I guess, viruses that affect people my age or older or something. Like something was about some kind of, what is it, chicken pox that you get when you're older? What is that called? Do you know? Shingles?
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I seeing shingles fucking commercials now? And I think because I've hit a demographic to where the ads are pushing stuff my way, and it's so depressing.
You don't need more. You're already welcome.
I am. No, and then the AARP, yeah, absolutely. The AARP commercials. I'm just to the point where I'm just like, oh my God.
Great.
I am here. But anyways, I don't want to get too far off course here because this is a midweek show. We're going to keep it kind of right on an hour. Chelsea has to get going here. And we've got the recap to episode 11, Is Love Blind? That we have to talk about. Then I want to spend 5 to 10 minutes on our own series recap because we are on episode 12 of 24, we've hit the midway point of our show, Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast, and then we have to determine what are we doing for episode 13. When that's going to take place, this month, next month, 2 months from now, we'll find out from Chelsea what her
Okay,
schedule's going to be. I don't know
you
yet,
know
so
you're
hold on,
here
don't
for
say anything.
me. Okay.
Don't say anything yet, because I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you and say, okay, are we going to do episode 13 this weekend?
No, I know.
We're
I
gonna
won't
find
go
out.
into that. I just have to say, you're such the germ freak that you're like, no one should go anywhere when they're sick. But I'm going to make Chelsea feel horrible for not attending our virtual lives.
Well, I'm glad you don't, because I told you before, when you were sick, it creeped me out even just being here, because every time you were coughing.
And you
I'm
like
just like-
made me do it. You're like, we won't do it again for another month. I was seriously ill for weeks.
I did feel like when you muted yourself, I felt somewhat immune, that I couldn't catch what you had when you were muting. So let's go ahead and talk
Yep.
our last episode here. Let me put that banner up. So episode 11 is Love Blind. That is where we dissected the current season of the hit Netflix show Love is Blind, as well as the tying that into the age-old question of whether love is blind or not. In real life, are we all mostly caught up with the physical part of the person that you're attracted to, not attracted to, that you end up marrying or you end up spending the rest of your life with? What do you think? How do you think our last episode went with our special guest?
Yeah, love Anna joining and having such good content and examples to share. I was like loving the last 15 minutes the most by a long shot, when we were really just discussing is Love Blind and not the show anymore, which was funny. I think discussing reality shows like that feels a little gossipy to me, even though I enjoy doing it. It's not that I don't enjoy doing it, but doing it in a live situation felt off. I loved the Is Love Blind and our like review of actually is it. And then I was so upset that I had a hard stop. I was like, this could have easily, like, we're about to get into it and I gotta go. And I know y'all weren't able to continue, but I was private commenting to Brian and I was like, keep it going, it's so good right now. And I have to hang up. And he was like, we all have to hang up. But that was my commentary, was I actually think that dialogue around an interesting question where we were like able to cover it in different ways was great. I didn't actually love the talking about the show.
Did you think that each one of us came to a conclusion, right? That we were leaning towards whether or not is love blind or not? Do you even remember?
Yeah, I said love's blind. Anna said 50-50. And you said love's not blind.
Yeah. And just on the production side of the show, which I think is kind of great with using StreamYard. We're using StreamYard as a platform to go live on YouTube and record a lot of our content. So Chelsea was mentioning that she was private chatting me on here. So we're on here and we can see comments coming in through YouTube, and she and I can do that. Well, you can't post yet, right? As the show or as you?
No, I can post comments and I can't make banners.
So, but you can private chat me within StreamYard. So that's what she was talking about before, that she can send me messages that I can see while we're in the show. And that kind of helps out in, like she was saying, she was trying to say, hey, why don't you guys keep going, since you had things kind of rolling with Anna. You guys were talking about, whether love is blind. Anna had a great personal story as well. And I that's kind of the finesse that we've gotten to midway through our own series, is the fact that she and I were communicating without it interrupting the show. That's just the production side of me that noticed that as well when you did that. I love the episode that we did. I understand what you're saying as far as being gossipy a little bit, and it's a little bit out of what. It's a little, I think, superficial for me and you a bit. I think that's what you were kind of getting to, but that was the purpose of our show, and our series, in the effect of, there's going to be some weeks where we may get into certain topics and it's going to be super serious, and then there's going to be some to where we do something that's a bunch of young, hot people that get together on a television show, and then we just have fun with it.
Yep.
Um, so that part didn't bother me as much, but I understand what you're saying there.
Or I felt restricted. I didn't bother me what we ended up doing.
Right, right.
It was just hard to navigate what to do around it, if that makes sense. It didn't
Yeah,
flow as quickly as it started to flow when we
but it
just got.
allowed us to get into the deeper conversation that you were talking about
Yeah.
at the end of our show of whether love is blind or not.
Yeah.
I thought the only other time that we've had an extra guest on, or a host or whatever, three people on, was Castle at the very beginning, where she was kind of acting as the host, and then you and I were just kind of along for the ride while she was asking us questions, dating questions of hers. Um, I thought, again, just with the production hat on, analyzing our show, I thought we kind of struggled with the production of the show, in a sense of when I went back and I was trying to go through and edit, so I have to actually watch the show again in real time as we go. Again, this is production side hat. Nobody probably even notices some of these things, other than I notice these just because I'm like that. We had a lot of awkward silences to
Hmm.
where nobody really knew where to go next, in a sense that
Mhm.
we're kind of talking, and I think I think all three of us are talkative people. Like, if we had to carry a load in a show like this, all three of us can carry a conversation and
Yep.
whatever. But I think that was also a case to where we're also wanting to make sure we're not hogging the mic too much, and I'm guilty of that probably more than anybody else. And so I sit back, and I think you end up sitting back a little bit, and then Anna's just the guest, and so she's sitting back, and then all of a sudden we're just kind of looking at each other, and then I feel the urgency of trying to, it's almost like a panic button. And
Yeah.
I watched it all the way through when I was trying to do the editing, and I was like, it wasn't as smooth as I thought we would have, especially with the three of us. And all three of us are just we're really fun people. Like Anna, obviously bringing her story, which was great.
It was so perfect. I love also really fun people, I swear.
And I felt that we kind of struggled with that, but that's probably something that comes with time of doing a show and having people on and knowing how to keep it kind of flowing. And I don't know, it was just different. I
Yeah.
could tell that the vibe was just a little just off.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned also we had to stop. We had a hard stop on that one too. So I think there was a little bit of we had to. I think that kind of threw us off also. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
didn't
we
even
all
think of the third person. That's like I picked up on the exact same thing, and I didn't I was picking up on it while it was happening, but my attribution was to discussing a show, like a reality show, for some reason.
yeah.
I thought maybe that it's interesting. Or the other variable, we did add a third person. Or the other variable, this was our first hard stop on a content episode.
I think I've gotten so used to you and I when we get on our own live, or we do whatever it is that we've done in the last 6, 7, 8 months that we've known each other and doing stuff like this. There hasn't been a show that's been awkward, at least to me, between you and I, to where it just, other than like nobody watching. Um, but it's a good handoff of the baton between the both of us. And I think when you add in that third person, it throws the rhythm and the routine off, which I'm thinking, I'm like, how do people, and people doing threesomes, into their relationship. That's the part of
Yeah.
the thing that throws people off. I think it sounds all well and good, like let's get another guy into our, let's try it. Let's do a threesome. Let's bring another
Yeah.
girl into our relationship, and then you get that person. They come over. You're drinking. Everybody's having a good time. You
Still
retire
going
to
to
wherever you go, and things are off and awkward.
I were going to stop. You're like, no, I'm going to keep it going until I get to the threesome part of this metaphor.
Is that not a good metaphor for it?
That is. I think I got it once you said it, but I'm glad you elaborated on it.
Right, but you know what I'm saying? You and I, when we're talking, I mean, there is something like you and I, we hit it off in discussing whatever it is. Spin the wheel, put a topic there. You and I can have a great discussion. I think it's interesting. I find our conversations interesting. You add in that third person, no matter who, and I'm not, it wasn't like specifically Anna. You add that third person in, and it throws us off. And I just think, and I'm like, this is why, like, sex therapists will tell you the most common fantasy that I guess maybe most men would have is bringing in another woman, but maybe they want to bring another man in or whatever, but it throws the
Is this
energy
a
off, and I
personal
get it.
experience you're quoting right now?
Maybe that's an episode, but I'm just saying, I think that's why they say when you throw somebody in, it's not necessarily adding to what you already kind of have, the magic that you have. There's a skill in bringing in another person. Right?
Yeah, yes, but I can't get off the metaphor. I'm just envisioning you having this conversation with your sex therapist. Which you put that in my head. That wasn't there first.
But that's what I thought about as I was editing our show, because I'm like, Chelsea and I have something good here, usually, that nobody watches or sees or whatever, which is fine. But it is different because we both, when you have that third person, we're both wanting to get them included. When do you lay back, or when do you sit back and let people go? And I think I need to do a better job of giving a question maybe and saying specifically, hey, Anna, what do you think about this? Or Chelsea, what do you think about this? And remember that we do have a guest on.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. A couple things. I think pauses naturally aren't as awkward, like can be normal. Our style doesn't have a lot of pausing. So I would guess just the natural pauses that should occur with an additional person seem weird to us. It's like we don't pause, we mostly interrupt each other. We don't pause at all. So we don't really breathe. That stood out to me with what you were saying. And the other thing, and this was actually learning from this experience that I'm applying now to something else, which is fun and something I want to take away from this.
Yes.
I'm doing a training at my friend's company, and her and I have worked together in the past. And it's like a classic talent development training. So if you've ever worked in a corporation and done one of these weeks, you're probably going to roll your eyes. That's what she's trying to avoid. So she's like, what's going to happen is everyone's going to get up. They're going to do their presentation, just talk at everybody for an hour and then sit down. And that's awful. So she wanted to bring me in because we've worked together before. We speak very similarly on topics. And she wants to do this like rapid fire discussion. So we put a bunch of topics up. They pick the one they want us to discuss. And then we have sort of prompts that we'll discuss, and they can ask me anything throughout. Sounds fun, should be very different than the rest of it, which is her goal. But I said, great, it's at 8 a.m. Eastern. She's not in Eastern time, but it's 8 a.m. Eastern. I was like, we need to get on 7:30 latest, ideally 7 a.m. and just start jiving, you and I. Like, we need to get warm because it's 45 minutes. And so learning from this, I was like, I just think we need to get warm. We need to get conversational, even though I've known her super well. That way, when we actually kick off live, we are warmed up in our communication style, and it's going to jive really nicely. I'll let you know how that goes. But that was a takeaway from this experience where I think even you and I, sometimes the first 15, 20 minutes, it's kind of a warm up. And then it's like we're getting hot. So that was kind of my takeaway is the warm up took way longer, probably 45 minutes. And then those 15 minutes at the end, I was like, no, we're jiving and I have to go. Crap.
So did you not just make this sexual too then? Everything you just described is foreplay.
Oh my God.
And then the experience towards the end to where things are going, and you're like, no, I don't want to.
Someone has to finish early.
And then there you go. See? Why don't you bring that up at this business meeting?
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm going to be
You
fired.
start the conversation early, and then you just, as people are coming in, you guys are talking about that, and everybody will be glued to
Yeah,
what the hell is going on.
won't be happening. We've talked about this. I don't pick up on innuendos as I'm sharing them.
Which is weird. Because I think you're not afraid of them, or maybe you're just, maybe that's part of the.
Oh yeah, they don't bother me. Potty humor, I don't know how you describe that, so I'm just going to use that, was
Yeah.
not allowed in my household growing up, and I actually find it appalling. And I know a lot of people think it's hilarious. So like Dumb and Dumber, I don't think is funny. Like
I
I'm
don't
not.
I don't think it's funny either.
You don't think any?
No. Dumb
Okay.
and Dumber, stuff like that, where it's like lowbrow type stuff. See, I think what you and I come up with is very highbrow sexual stuff. But you know what I'm saying? We're not nothing that you've said or I've said. It's very adult, next level, I think. I don't think it has anything to do with lowbrow sexual humor. Like, I would hate that.
Yeah. I I see what you're saying. Like sexual humor can be highbrow. I guess I wasn't thinking of it that way. I'm also writing down the minute marker. This little moment. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I was thinking about it as all, but that's why I don't come up with the innuendo while I'm speaking, and I'm not worried about it because I think any of that, like, that's what she said. I do think you slid it in, haha, in a, I did it in a nice way to where it wasn't as like lame as that's what she. It's overdone. Like do it more in a more clever fashion.
But the way what just happened worked out was, I think, is exactly why you and I do well here, is because what you were describing, if you're watching this, listening to this later on, even now, go back and listen to how Chelsea's explaining. It's exactly the graph for a sexual encounter. It's absolutely that.
Oh, I will be sending this to the colleague I'll be doing that with so she can watch it.
We we need the viewership, so yes, please do that.
Oh goodness.
So
Yeah, you were gonna transition.
I was gonna say I enjoyed doing that. I do think doing shows to where we do something kind of recent pop culture, I think is fun. I think it's a good change of pace to maybe some other things that we do. Will all of them be a super big hit or whatever? Probably not. But I think for me, it was more of how we incorporated a third person on our show doing this. Like for me, I'm trying to analyze, and I'll look back and be like, okay, next time I want to do a better job of incorporating somebody else into our thing. Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah. No, I think we could definitely both do things differently. I also think something about creating the chemistry quicker somehow, and I'll have to think on that. The other takeaway I want us to have, though, yes, pop culture things can be fun. Obviously, we started with Star Wars, so I'm not going to say no to pop culture, but the deep dive on one question I would like to test eventually. Like we've done rapid fire, but just taking is love blind as a question, and we need like an equivalent question where anyone could agree it can go a million ways.
Right.
I think that kind of topic was fun and my favorite part. And again, it happened more towards the end. So I would like to pose that as an idea as well.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Like a super deep dive into something like that. And I think that I can be convinced to change my answer either way, depending on our conversation. That's how much I leave myself open to. And I try to do this just in real life stuff as well. There's some that I feel like, okay, well, you're not going to change my mind on something. But the more information that I gather, or maybe seeing somebody's perspective on something, and I'm absolutely can be like, oh, okay. And I have done that on several like big time things to where I'm like, okay, well, I might have been looking at this wrong, or in a certain way to where now I see a bigger picture. I see some more information has come. I've processed it, and I can change my thing. So, um,
Let me read back just to make sure I have the notes. So if we're going to do a third person again, we want to think about how to better incorporate them as hosts, but also I'd be curious for ideas on like how to build chemistry better, which will kind of hold that in case that comes up. And then also as a potential event, deep dive into one question, but the question has to be very debatable, where like you have opinions on it, but you could be swayed because it's just a very debatable, deeper question, like Love is Blind.
yeah, like maybe a deep dive question down the road is a threesome on a podcast or a threesome in the bedroom more difficult to maneuver? And then that would just, and then let it go. We cast the die and we just break that down. And I bet you there were so many similarities there. Absolutely. I'm being serious.
I wrote it down, but then when I wrote it down, I was like, why are you still writing this down? But I did it.
I'm serious.
I wrote it down for you.
There's a lot of ties between the two.
I wrote
So
it down.
thank you to Anna for coming on last week.
Even though Brian thought it wasn't a great addition.
Well, because I think I could have done a better job of having her of having the three of us finessed a little bit better. And before we move on to the next part of this show today, I am so like, I want to have her friend on, who she claims is still her friend, the one that hooked her up with this blind date, because I absolutely blame her friend for leaving that part out, leaving the physical part out, not to be superficial, that has nothing to do with it. But as her best friend or her good friend that was the go-between between the two, leaving out how somebody physically looks, she did Anna dirty on that.
So perhaps I also think what's so unique and so cool about that is that couldn't exist now. Like these are scenarios that could have only happened in a point in time when the internet was such a way, and they can't happen that way anymore. And so I love these just because we can relate to them. Like my younger brother can't relate to this. Like if he heard that story, he'd be like, that's impossible. How do they not know what they look like? You know what I mean? Like how? No, that's impossible. Well, for us, it's like, yeah, no, that's very probable that could have occurred because I only had an iPhone at this, and you and I are different ages, but I'm at least in this category. I know you're like, yeah,
I was gonna, you saw my smile. I was gonna hit you on that. I was like, I was like, there's nothing we.
No,
Chelsea is not part of the we of like me and Anna. Me and Anna are certain age. We're over the 40s, and then you're the next level down.
Yes, but the defining characteristic of a millennial is that you were raised without technology up until high school or college.
Right. Oh yeah.
So I still fit squarely in this bucket.
But it's still something to where her friend holds all the blame in that, and she should have left it then up to Anna after giving her all the information. But and if you didn't hear Anna's story, she was communicating with a gentleman over the phone, right? Just talking on the phone, I think. So this had to have been late 90s, maybe.
Yep. There's no FaceTime. There's no video chats.
Hitting it off, having a great time. And Anna just so happened to be in the guy's area. They were kind of hooked up through a mutual friend or something. And then Anna had to go meet him at a park. And then what did she say? She pulled up, and I guess he had something on to where he's like, okay, well, look for me. I'll be in the... And then it's just, she didn't like, she was just, he was a little on the heavier side, and it's just not her type. And I think she feels bad about it. And I didn't want her to feel bad about telling the story because it's a good story. But she did nothing wrong, I don't think. It's a tough situation.
I want you to go back and to clip out her telling the story and then you trying to retell the story because I do not remember. I do not remember most of these details this way.
What did you remember, real quick?
I don't remember anything about his size being concerning, nor I think you added in the fun details about like him wearing a certain thing and she could
That I
find
did,
him.
but that was the whole point of her story, was he was on the bigger side. That
I
was
think she was more vague than you were, but it was just fun. It was fun to watch. It was a game of telephone. Like Brian's just adding in all these details from his creative imagination. Oh, wait, Amanda's backing me up.
That was the whole point of the story.
That wasn't the point. She wasn't physically attracted to him was all she shared in a different way. She didn't word it that way.
All right, now I'm gonna have to go back and cut that. I'm open to that's the second time I've heard the story. So she's gone over the story with me on the Tossing Salad podcast before. So I knew the story when she brought it up.
Yes.
I think okay, I'm all right. I accept the challenge. I'm gonna go back and clip that out and see just how close that is to what I just told.
It'd be funny. I think if you could really get it like line by line, it'd be pretty funny. You added detail for sure, but you've heard it twice. I've only heard it once.
So you're under the impression then that she bolted just because she was bolted.
I thought she talked to him, but this is just my memory. I thought she went, but she made a decision before having the conversation that it was a no.
Where is Anna when we need her?
No, we don't want her right now because this is more fun. What? She'll just fix the details. It's hilarious watching. You and I heard completely different stories.
I thought she pulled up and saw him and then took off.
I think she's like a kind person. I think she would have gone and engaged.
But I don't think that makes, but that's the thing. I don't think that makes her not kind. I think that was just a really bad situation that I solely place at the foot of her friend for not telling her.
Okay, this does give me a constructive idea, and then we should also talk about episode 12 being episode 12, but constructive idea. To better incorporate a third speaker, we could just approach it with more of an interview style. Well, like you and I are both like co-interviewing this. I think that would be a really easy way to approach a third speaker versus us all three speaking organically.
Right. Yeah, and that just comes with learning how to, the style of the show that we're hosting and what we want that guest to be, whether or not, because she came in as a different role than what Castle did. Castle was the host.
Mm-hmm. And that made it easy because we didn't. Right. We just sat there.
Right, we just sat there, and then on the other
Castle had 3 cocktails or something.
And then on the Anna show, you and I just were kind of there, and apparently one of us was kind of listening, and one of us is making stuff up. So we'll see. Anna's here. Okay.
Anna, don't confirm or deny the details. I think Brian's wrong.
Okay. So hold on. All right. So we can't bring you on the show right now, Anna, but here's the dilemma, because Chelsea has to leave and we have 2 more parts of the show we have to get done in like 20 minutes. I thought that the whole point of your personal story that you talked about when we were talking Is Love Blind, when you were set up by your bestie friend, was that she left the physical part out of what he looked like. And when you guys went to go meet up at a park or wherever it was, you physically saw where you saw him, and he's a little on the heavier side, and then you took off. That's my understanding of the story.
So yes, confirmed her friend left out his physical details, which I agree with that. I think everything else you shared after that was an elaboration.
Well, do we want Anna to say whether or not she left?
No, I think don't tell.
All right, don't say anything.
I want you. I think it'd be really fun. Like, do the side by side. Let's see what the story is.
I think that'll be fun. But now I've got to find a way to do that within a minute, 30 seconds on a reel.
Be creative.
Or we can just say, hey, if you want to see if I was wrong, you're gonna have to go to YouTube so I can do the whole clip side by side. Maybe that's it.
We could share the very end if you want to know. Did you leave or did you talk to him? Do you want to address that?
Well, no, Anna, just don't say anything.
Okay.
Because now I want people to be like, well, what did they hear? That's what I thought. Did you know when I promoted that clip on TikTok, I had somebody get pissed off because I cut it off right when Anna was talking about pulling up and seeing the guy. So some random dude was like, why would you fucking leave or clip it right there?
Wait,
I
that
don't wanna-
annoyed me too, though. I was like, what's happening?
But is that not what you're supposed to do?
No, it is. That's the point. That's what we talked about in that unspoken rules. Annoying people is the goal. So they're so annoyed they watch on the YouTube video, but it was annoying.
This guy was annoyed enough to actually make a comment. So I was like, okay, great. Which, well, I play along a little bit in my comments section. Sometimes I act dumb about things just to fuck around, you know? So I knew exactly what I did on that clip. And so the guy was totally pissed off. He was like, well, you know, you could have gotten me as a listener or something if you would have done the story. And I was like, whatever. I thought about playing along even more and like dragging it out a bit to have fun, but then I didn't have time and I just lost interest in him.
Yeah, this is the whole debate, like mostly I think on TikTok, but I know in other places as well, but the whole debate of like, do I do a part 2 or not? And you'll see those content creators who are like, I never do a part 2, and that's their whole shtick. And then you'll have those content creators who are like, part 6. Like,
yeah,
wow.
And then on the flip side, let's just say, everybody, Amanda also saying dropping the end of the video makes people so annoyed. I get it. So let's say that I'm the creator that did this in a minute, 50 seconds, 55 or whatever, 2 minutes. Then I would get a comment. You could have told that story in 30 seconds. So no matter what you do online, how you do it, you can't please everybody on it, which is great. So hopefully the ones that you piss off, then at the very least, they're giving you traffic and comments telling you what you did to annoy them.
That's true. One of
knew
my
what I was
favorite
doing.
painters. Yeah, you did on purpose. One of my favorite painters on TikTok handles tired and pissed. And so anytime he gets in fights with someone in comments, he's like, hey, I just want your comments. Like, obviously, I'm both tired and pissed. I don't care that you're mad at me.
Well, that was the thing
Like,
that I
it's
did
great.
with on Reddit with your graphic. Remember? Do you remember your
People
graphic?
hated my graphic that I was so excited about. That was my
And
favorite part of the show.
I posted on Reddit. See, we're gonna run out of time. So I posted on Reddit Chelsea's graphic that she made, and I told you, Chelsea, I said I love this graphic. I thought you did a great job with it. It's something that we've never really had on our show or even Tossing Salad podcast. I don't have stuff like that. I didn't think of it, and that's the great thing about you and I working together on something like this. I was like, I think you said your husband came up with the idea of posting it on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, yeah, that's a great idea, but the problem is they don't want you self-promoting on Reddit. And actually, I just read through a subreddit yesterday about people promoting their podcast on Reddit. It's not allowed. People don't like it. So I said, how do I do this without making it seem like I'm promoting the show? I'm pretending that I'm typing on Reddit. Okay, let me get in focus. I'm like, hey guys, my friend and I have a podcast, and I didn't say the podcast name because I want it to be like, I'm here for a serious question. My partner came up with a great graphic for a show that we're going to do Friday night. And how does this, I want to have Love is Blind people take a look at this just to see if we've missed anything. I knew it was opening up Pandora's box of shit comments, and it got a ton of responses, and it got a lot of negative stuff.
Yeah, a lot of negative. I was like, I don't
every
want this shit.
nitpicking stuff. And I would hope that you knew, as long as we're getting people were talking about it, that was the purpose of it. I didn't want you feeling bad about every nitpicking thing, and I don't think that you did.
No. I don't actually feel bad about it. What was funny is you shared it and then kind of asked, but you knew the answer of like, are you going to implement the feedback? And I was like, hell no. Like, I've already wasted way too much time building this graphic for God knows what reason. I am not editing any of it based on random Reddit feedback. So the only thing I was hoping for, and slightly bummed by, it wasn't actually in all the negative feedback. I was like, yeah, sure, I don't care. Like, whatever, you would have designed it differently. I'm not a graphic designer, people. I thought someone would have appreciated the value, and no one did.
Well, it's not no one. There was a lot of people that did. We got a lot of upvotes on it. And I do think some of the things were kind of helpful for just like, again, in your headspace for down the road for something else that you would do.
Hell no.
Well, because some of the people gave us some comments about certain coupling of the show that, well, maybe this or that. And then some people are like, well, what were some of the things, like, the names could have been all in one like line visually or something.
Yes.
Not that,
I didn't care to do those things. The extra work, I am not a graphic designer. There was not one piece of feedback that was useful. I can't see the rings so well when they're going through the dotted line. Yes, no one can. These were choices. I don't care. Like, if I cared, I time box everything I do. So this is interesting. So I time box everything I do. I am ruthless with my prioritization. So I'd be like, oh, this is a fun thing I want to waste my time on. I want to waste my time on it because I think it'll be fun. I will give it 15 minutes. And whatever I can accomplish, it's 80-20. Like, anyone who does startups or works in tech understands this. And so it's like, whatever I can accomplish in 15 minutes, it's shipped. And that's what I did. And then I got a ton of feedback, not a dime of it useful, because do I know what 100% of my potential looks like? Yes. It's so annoying.
So I take the full blame, because I asked people, what do you guys think that we can do with this graphic? So the ones that were giving constructive criticism, I think we're being helpful. And it helps me, not necessarily, okay, so you didn't take anything positive out of it. For me, I took some positive out of some of the comments that we got. And then some of the other ones, I played around with them in a sense to where I think one person was like, why didn't you mention your podcast so we know what you're talking about? And then somebody replied to that, that's exactly why he posted. So I feigned I faked being outraged by that comment. I was like, how dare you? I was looking for constructive criticism. I forgot what I said. For my partner. And I wanted to say something like, now she's wanting to quit the podcast because you guys...
Your partner never wanted constructive criticism. So here, okay, really what I think went wrong, the whole thing was inauthentic. If I do think just like a genuine, authentic, hey, we made this thing, think it may be cool, and then we just had the PR for the podcast in the graphic. So it's not like extra. It's just like, made this thing, thought this group might like it. Because that was all, honestly, that was the only reason Mike said share it. He didn't say, hey, share this to drive traffic to the podcast. The idea was, oh, there's this whole subreddit community on this. They would love a graphic like this. If you do anything inauthentic, like, you faked the whole thing. You faked the desire for feedback. You faked the outrage.
There you go. Yes, feigned.
Feigned and faked.
And it was one of our most popular. I don't think it got us any kind of followers or anything. Although, I mean, I will say our stuff is trending upwards more than what it was before. So collectively. So when I say that, it's when you look at not just Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or now even Reddit, but when you look at them all collectively, some piece of content from our stuff does really well, but it's just either on TikTok or it's just on YouTube. It's kind of weird. It's never like all of them. It's not like one piece is like super gold content and in like all of the platforms like it. It's only like one.
Yep.
Which is fine.
I won't be done making graphics because I love doing them. I will never do them professionally, but send me the thing of you and Anna before you post it. I have an idea. That's all I'll tell you.
All right. So let me change our thing here. So let's talk about, what is that sound?
A motorcycle.
Jeez.
I know.
It's like sometimes I hear like a train or something by your house. You have a train?
I'm on like a main road. I'm on like a main road. And so in some of my stories in my front yard, when I'm like showing the garden and stuff, like in one of them, a car accident happened in the background of my story.
Jeez.
Yeah, and my neighbor noticed it. It was like, did anyone notice? And no one noticed, because it was very hard to tell. But he was like, were you recording the whole time that accident happened? And the guy got out of the car flagrant, and he was screaming, and this was all happening while I was like, look at my puppy seats.
This is what you're missing out on Chelsea's garden account.
Well, urban life, you know.
All right, so I'm going to skip us talking about our series mid-season breakdown. We'll hold that off for another week or so. We are the halfway point of our 24 episodes to where we're cutting it off, and then we're going to definitively decide whether or not we're going to stick this out or not, we need to come up with our planning for the next episode, episode 13. We're on the back side now. We can start counting down to how many episodes left. So now we have 12 episodes left.
The way you're saying, we can start, we're almost done. We'll be done soon. The way you just said.
This is because of you.
I
Initially
was
of the
sick.
show. No. Well, not from the last few weeks. Yeah, your sickness has really inconvenienced me here.
Oh my God.
I'm talking
I
at the
thought you were
beginning.
mistaken.
Remember when Julie pointed out to you 24 episodes is like,
6 months?
6 months of your life of doing this?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, now we can look at it to where it says we count down. It's 12 all we have is 12 episodes left, and that number just goes down. So we're on the back side of this.
Yep. I'm
So
like a really committed person. I was pretty sure this is going to happen. I'm still very sure this is going to happen. Again, we have taken a total of 2 weeks off.
I don't. Man, this is great because this is where your recollection of things and mine are different. This is like spouses fighting. Also, when you're fighting with your husband, I'm fighting with my wife. She hears one thing, I hear something else. This is great.
There's a calendar. We could solve this, bro. We'll
I
do
think
this
I
and Anna at
remember-
the same time. Anna and Brian's recollection of this story, and then we'll just have a calendar of events of Chelsea's illness and our outages.
Episode 13, and again, we have a hard time limit because of Chelsea. So about 10 minutes. We need to figure out what we're doing for episode 13. Are we doing it this weekend? Usually our schedule has been Friday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the easiest question is, are we doing something Friday night?
Potentially.
See, there we go. Another 2 weeks off.
No. We're meeting this week. If we meet next week, there's no weeks off. That's the problem in your calculation. You're like, if we don't meet twice a week, every week, we're not meeting.
So we don't know if we're meeting Friday night. Are we meeting at least sometime this weekend, or even that's
Are
all
you
off the
free
table?
Sunday night? It is Mother's Day.
Sunday night, yes, I believe.
So I could even do, so here's the problem. I could potentially do Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I just don't know which day.
I mean, Friday nights are the most fun. Not that for me, it doesn't really matter.
I'll be
And I
unable
act
to
like we
pick.
have an audience to where it matters to them either. Because I'm like, most people on a Sunday night, they don't want to sit around with a podcast because they have to force themselves to go to bed because they got to wake up in the morning and do whatever it is that they don't want to do.
But they're here
like
Thursday at 2:50, so clearly it's
Well,
fine.
I mean, sort of.
Well,
Like Friday, I feel the most like we can let loose and have some fun.
well, so here's the problem. I can't pick. So here's the issue.
See, this conversation never goes the other way to where it's like I'm the one holding it up.
I mean, you proudly
Go ahead.
don't have a social life. You
I
say this
don't.
all the time.
This is my social life.
Okay, so Friday night is the end of your party at school. I assume it will end at 8 and we will come back. It is a very important opportunity for me to actually socialize more with parents because this is our first year at the school. So if there's a socialization opportunity, I have to take it. If there's not, I can definitely do this. Or Saturday, I'm going to Athens for my brother's 30th birthday. We do not know the time we're returning. There's a good chance we return well with enough time, and then I can do it Saturday night. Or Sunday, I'm going to Brianna's for Mother's Day, and it's all the exact same scenario. That's where I am.
So Friday night sounds like the most realistic, where we get a good Chelsea
I'd
here
be good
on the
in
show.
any. It's
Saturday
just-
night is too rushed and coming back from your brother's birthday party, and then you're not really focused in on it or whatever. And then Sunday night, Mother's Day weekend, Sunday night, people, I think Friday night is where we would get prime Chelsea.
I'm
for
going
the
to
show.
guess the parents are going to, like, my assumption is parents are going to leave the party, be tired, have to take home toddlers to go to sleep. We'll do the same thing, and then I'll hop on live with you. That's my guess. But just know that if a parent is like, we're doing this thing, we're going to go.
What does that mean, though, if a parent's doing a thing?
I don't know. If there's a socialization opportunity, I kind of have to take it because we need to like build deeper relationships with the parents at the school. You already have this. You have older kids. This is like
I'm
my
telling
first
you, looking
year.
back on it, it's not worth it.
It's been very helpful.
How old is your?
He's 2, and we got them to like join soccer camp we're doing, so he'll have friends there. These things are very important.
None of those parents are going to matter. It's a waste of time. I know this.
My life right now. It matters.
The job that I have, real quick, I went back to our kind of preschool where we all started from here, where I started the PTO there. I was the PTO president, but I started the PTO. We were the first child signed up for this particular school. And I go back every year and we do this graduation where we interview all the pre-K kids. I record the graduation ceremony. I put together like a 20-minute awesome video. It's really good money. These are really, well-to-do families that go there. And I remember every time I go there, I'm like, oh man, all the parents that we were friends with, our kids are friends with, we're like, oh, we're going to be best dad buds and moms forever because our kids are going to, none of us.
Wait, so
80% of them are divorced. They all hate each other.
I'm not unrealistic to that. They could make my life easier this month. There's an immediate potential benefit to a good friendship. And this.
Yeah, because they're going to say, which one of those nasty kids is the one that's getting everybody sick?
No, I'm not looking for lifelong friends. I am looking for good partnerships and collaboration in the immediate year of life I'm in with my son. And right now I have no relationships.
So now I'm supposed to root on you having more social relationships to make our podcast even harder to do. This shows you where on the priority list this all falls, you guys.
Well,
12 episodes left.
Sorry, yeah, my son's going to win on any priority list, even indirect
12 episodes left. And it's not going to affect him at all.
Friendships with his friends' parents will affect him.
I don't know about that.
It will definitely. His only friend who we hang out with all the time is moving to Miami in 3 weeks. We need to make him a new friend, which means we need to befriend some parents.
All right, so 50-50 if we're having our follow-up episode 13 this weekend. Chelsea will let us all know, and then we'll just accommodate that. What do we want to do on this show?
I have some ideas. You sound scared. No,
I'm just reading. Well, I took a breath because whenever I see Amanda's comments come up, I'm always like amazed. Well, not amazed, but I'm always like, I need to read through this.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. Have my back. Yeah. And then it got dark at the end, but thank you. Look it. I love it. Agreed. Okay. Thank you, Anna. Some fun.
You all say
ideas.
this.
No, I'm not even going to let you rebuke. I'm not going to let you rebuke.
In the DMs, in private conversations, everybody says something different.
Oh, no. Okay. Fun.
All right, what are we
things
doing for the
next
next
time.
episode?
I'm looking. Never have I ever, 2 truths and a lie, dirty minds, and make assumptions about the other person. You do X, and then the other person can rebut it. Rebuttal it. Refute? Is refute a word? I don't know. Or pick topics out of a hat unseen prior to the episode.
All of those are great. I think we would have fun with any number of those. What happened to our improv night?
That is still on here, but it requires more prep than I can do tomorrow.
Does it?
Yes.
How intricate of an episode would this have to be? I think it's the people that come, anybody that's there live, they give us a scenario and you and I have to act it out, right?
Yes.
I'm just really itching to do something like this because I think it's.
I want to do it too. I'm just not sure what it is. Like I wanted to put a little more structure behind it. and like some thought into it just to make sure it flows. Like there's normally a lot of prep and planning that goes into improv before it happens, actually, even though the topics are unknown.
Right, for like professional improv people.
It's true. We are not. Anna said, never have I ever. Was that an option? That was. I can share my screen because I'm reading our thing right now. Though we will need to pick shortly.
Like I am, yeah, because Chelsea
I
has
never
to
give
go.
you a real heart out because I know that I won't actually be able to escape at that time.
Oh, so you do what my wife does. She gives me a time limit to where it's like 30 minutes.
No, we don't have 30 minutes, but we have a little time because I know you like
So
going over.
I'm kind of big on our improv night simply because I think that's a challenging thing for you and I. I'm curious to see how we would handle something like that.
Okay.
Number two, it interests me the most. I like all these ideas, obviously, that we've come up with. But I'm just afraid we're not going to make the remaining 12 episodes to where we're going to get improv in. That's why I just want to get it up earlier than later.
All right, let's do it. I'll look into it more between tonight and tomorrow and figure out a structure. We're not professional improvists. So we need at least one person in the audience, though, or it won't be improv.
Well, you and I will just come up with stuff. If there's nobody that is in, if there's nobody in the audience, which is very highly likely, depending on the night that we're on, we're gonna have them come up, set us a scene, and Chelsea and I have to act it out until we just have to come up right now with how does that scene end? Is it where you break the other person, or the scene just starts to die on its own? And we're like, okay, I think we're done with this scene.
No, okay, so this is the problem. No. Okay, so my limited knowledge from what I understand, they don't set the scene. They give a prompt. We creatively set the scene. So the way it would go, it's like, give me a color, and a this, and a that, or give me something, like going to the dentist. So it sounds like they're setting the scene, but they're not. They're giving you a prompt. And then one of you, in the first line you say, has set a scene. So if I were to open that up and be like, Mom, I don't want to go to the dentist. I hate the dentist. He always hurts my mouth. I have now set the scene. I am a child. I'm talking to you as my mother, or you could act like you're a third party there and my mother is additionally in the room and we can't see her. You know what I mean? It's like we're creating the scene. They don't give us the scene at all. They don't give us our characters at all. They don't give us any of that. They just give us a prompt. And then I say something that creates a scene. It's like if we were saying a sentence and I say one word and then you say the other word. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
Comedians do it.
What's that?
Like comedians do it.
Yeah.
And so pulling out of it, what's supposed to happen is the other comedian from the audience or one of us just changes the scene with some sort of movement, motion, code word.
I am all for. See, this is where 8 months into this, knowing you, and then 12 episodes into this project, knowing you, I know you could probably come up with some great rules to this. But I think it's so low on your priority list once we end this show, like right now, like in 5 minutes, that you'll only start thinking about it when you're getting back from your school night. Or, you guys are driving back from your brother's birthday party, like, well, shit, I got to do this thing with Brian and I need to come up with these. So
I'm way more proactive than that. Don't worry. I do not procrastinate like that. So that wouldn't happen, but I hear you.
I'll go either way, and I trust you. But I'm just saying I can also be for just making it as easy as we can to where you and I were on a live. Like right now, let's do a practice. Let's just see how this goes.
I don't probably okay, you got a minute.
Okay, one person, whoever's watching this live, give Chelsea and I a scene. Just something to where we can start. I just want to see if this would work.
Let's say give me a prompt, but it's fine.
Give me a prompt. It's not like Chat GPT or something. Just
that's
anybody. If there's 5 people that are supposedly watching, they're just letting it run.
I did watch live improv where they use Chat GPT, so that could be our backup.
Yeah. Well, I tried this out with my Snapchat GPT. We did Joseph and Mary.
Yeah.
and she had to break it to me that she was pregnant, and I spent 15 minutes with her, and it was the most. And I was like, I want to do this with Chelsea.
Okay.
Walmart checkout. You ready?
Oh, yeah. You got a lot of Star Wars movies, huh?
I'm a big fan. You into Star Wars? I
I've never seen it.
You've never seen. Oh, hold on. See, so this is where I'm going to get messed up because then I'm reading through other people's comments.
Don't read through them. You gotta just okay. So we got to put the prompt up as a banner and do it. And I think we need to determine when we're going to not do it and go back to the comments.
Okay, because my problem is okay. So Anna gave us Walmart checkout, which is great, and I was getting ready to go, and then I see Amanda's comment, and then I get distracted from what I'm doing.
This is a good point. I agree. I think let's do a silly one because Allison would be hilarious to have in the audience.
And then I'm still what?
I was going to say, how about this? We'll go in the spirit of improv. We're either going to do, because I can have this prepped too, like let's either do Dirty Minds, the game.
Okay. All right.
Or improv. Or let's just say pick now. I was going to say in the spirit of improv, you just make an executive decision and I'll show up and do one of them.
I can do improv, and I am totally on board with you coming up with however you want to do it.
Okay. Even
I
with
just don't think
Amanda's
you're going to have time
though?
to do it. So if we want to do the other thing, which is Dirty Minds, what is that real quick?
It's just a game. So I will get a digital copy of the game so we can play. It's a card game. So for
example, what are we doing with that?
So Dirty Minds, a card would pop up.
Okay.
That is trying to get your mind to think of the dirty version of the card, whatever it says. All right. And instead, you need to come up with a clean version.
So, for example, can you come up with something? Can we play it like for 30 seconds here so I get an idea?
Yes. What is I think I already gave you this example, but it's just the one I have memorized. What is another word for a woman that ends with UNT?
Another word for a woman that ends with UNT.
Mm-hmm. This would be the card.
Oh, and I think you gave this to me on the last one.
I gave it to you, yeah, in chat or something.
And so I would answer you in the cleanest version, or that you want the dirty version?
No, the clean version. The card is worded to make you go dirty, but the answer has to be clean.
Okay, so that would be the card. You would give me that question.
The computer would give us both that question. I will pull up a digital version, so we'll both play against each other.
And it's whoever says it out loud first.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's blank UNT.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all obviously thinking,
but the answer is
ant.
Yes. The answer's
AUNT.
Yes. And so that's how the game, so the cards are written in such a way. And what I think would be funny about this for you and me is you have a dirty mind and think of the sexual innuendos of things. I don't. And so it'd just be interesting. I have a theory that someone like me, it's harder to play the game. Well, since you already think about both meanings of the words in real life, it'll be easier for you to play the game.
When did we talk? Because is this deja vu, or did we talked about this on the show? We chatted
about this, not on the show. We
didn't do this on the show because I was like, we need to get somebody to where they have to say the word. Like, I think is that a word I can say or no?
Aunt?
What? The CUNT.
I know. That's your call.
Well, but I'm
not the police.
But I'm saying, is that a word that I can say without getting in trouble?
The reason I like the game, the point of the game is to not say the dirty word so we don't get in trouble on the episode. It's like when you're having a sexual innuendo conversation, but you won't use any of the real words. That's the point of the game, is you cannot use the real words.
But so this is where I'm going to show that you were of a different generation than I was. You remember like Password on TV?
Yeah,
where they give and they're like, the secret word is cunt. So I think it would be funny to have somebody that is like, that would have to say the word like that for us.
Well, that I don't have structured. You have 30 seconds to make a decision. Would you rather do improv Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, given Amanda's astute comment, or play Dirty Minds?
Would Dirty Minds be easy for you?
I'm just gonna find a digital copy of the card deck so we could just
Okay.
like shuffle the deck and it'll give us a card.
Okay, let's just do that.
Okay.
'Cause
I think it'll be fun.
that you want to. Well, I think it'll be fun too. I just think that you want to do improv a certain way,
I want
and
to think
I think
about
you
it.
need the time to do it.
Yeah, I want to think there's tons of different ways to structure it, and I want to think about the best structure for it. Like this. Like this is a unique environment to do improv. We're not in the same physical location. And so I think there's some thinking that would make it more fun. And then I also agree with Amanda. I think a dedicated audience would make it more fun. Well, Dirty Minds is just going to be you and I having
You can't
fun.
get a dedicated audience for a general show of ours.
Yes, we
what's
can.
dedicated?
Yes, we can. Okay. I have the flashcards already.
So it's Dirty Minds sometime this weekend.
Yeah, do not go through them yet because I doubt they have tons of them. But I have the flashcards ready to go. It'll show us the card and then show us the answer, and then we can shuffle the cards.
So, are we going to put the cards as a banner?
No, it'll be a share screen
Okay, so
because it's through a web app.
Okay, so then the web. Okay.
So the web app will like shuffle, give us.
So
the
then
next
we
card.
would go into a screen to where, like before, we've got the third screen up here, and it's just you and I going back and forth. Okay.
It'll have to be like that. But I think we don't need tons of cards. I don't think we do that for the whole time, but that'll at least yield interesting discussion.
But what are we like? If it was the blank UNT, what discussion comes out of Ant and?
When I played the game, and I don't know because it was a long time ago, but when I played the game in the past, you could not get every card.
Is this what you're hoping to do with your new school friends that you find tomorrow?
Oh my God. No. Okay. I have to go.
This is why you'd rather do that, is to find school friends, other parents that have kids that go to school with your kid that you can play Dirty Minds with.
If you make me leave the studio, I won't finish buffering my episode.
Wow. That's true. I definitely want to have that. Okay, so this weekend, this weekend we are going to do Dirty Minds, and then Chelsea is going